is the I-9, which is basically a flow where you have an employee that needs to fill out some data, and then an employer that needs to fill out some other data. All of that data needs to end up on this one PDF form that the government requires. But what is common about this scenario is that the employee might be ready to provide their information sometime before the employer kind of knows everything they need to know about, where they're going to place that employee. And so you don't want to have, the employee sort of have to come back twice, once to fill stuff out and then another time at a later date to sign things. And also you can't sort of save a signature for later and then apply it later. There's got to be some solution for that. And the solution that is sort of available in the PDF specification is what we're referring to as incremental, which allows for this exact scenario where you create a form on the PDF, fill it out with whatever data you have at the time. It can then be signed. You can then subsequently update those fields with data, and the change and the things that have changed, between the initial version that was signed and that update are kept track of internally in the PDF. And that allows it to be, this audit trail and diff availability allows it to then be subsequently signed again by another person without invalidating the prior signature. So a lot of the setup is exactly how you would do kind of enter. So we've got on the right-hand side here, you see the document. We've got some of the fields mapped. These top green fields here are from the employer or for the employer. There's the employer signature down here. And then here are fields that come from the employee, top is with the employee. Fields down here are for the employer, hiring firm. And so we have a form here on the left for the employee, and we have a second form here for the employer. Gathers information we need there. And again, this is basically exactly how you would set things up for a traditional workflow or flow within our system. But the difference is that over here in the area where you set up the signers, there's this advanced tab. And we click on this, there's this new called signature events, where we can actually change from going to a linear path of collecting all the data first and then collecting all the signatures second, to any sort of combination of collecting data and then signatures that we want. And you can see here, the forms are in this sort of lighter dot. These signatures are on these darker dots with numbers, and you can drag and drop the order of the things. So if you wanted to have the employee, employer go first, and then the signers, that's sort of a traditional flow. But what we were discussing here is that the employee fills some stuff out, then they sign, then the employer fills some stuff out, then they sign. This is a pretty simple example of the power of this and the capability of it, but this sort of sequence could go on and on. You could have one workflow or multiple workflows, then a single signature or multiple signatures, followed by one or more workflows that need to be filled out, followed by one or more signatures, and so on and so forth. This is just a simple example. So let's see it in action. So what we'll do here is kick off a new instantiation of the flow that should take us to the employee workflow. So this is Jane Johnson. It's all filled out for speed here. That gets submitted. We review this, finalize it. We'll generate the document, and then that person will be asked to sign. So this is the employer example. We pre-populate their signature, look and feel, and the initials as well, and then we go to begin signing. As you can see here, Jane's information was filled out in the employee area, and then her signature is here. We click on that, we'll fill in the signature, update the document, sign it, and she's done. At this point, this tab can be closed. If I go back here to our sort of dashboard, here we'll see the in progress packet workflow that we were just looking at here. We'll click into some details, and you can see that Jane is signed, the employee workflow has been filled out, and the next step is for the employer workflow to be filled out. So we'll copy that link. This can all be done programmatically as well. If you have webhooks set up, you'll get notifications of each of these steps being completed, and you can trigger things in your system from there. But in this case, we'll just do a manual copy of the link for the employer. Takes it to their form, which is the employer form that we looked at. And this is Sally Sanders. We got her email, her title, etc. She's going to go ahead and verify her data. We'll submit it. What's happening now is we're updating the existing documents that we saw that were already signed, and now it's her turn to sign. So we bring her here. Before we go ahead and actually sign everything, you'll notice that, again, Jane, the employee stuff is here. The employee signature is there, but down here in the employer area, we've filled in this information, Sally Sanders, her title, the company, et cetera. And then here's the spot for her signature. Now she signs it and we're going through and making a valid signature. We can then download the resulting files, open that up, unzip it. And if we take the file off screen here and drop it into Adobe Acrobat, it will go out and validate the signatures. You can see here in this bar up top that the signatures are all valid. If I click on the signature panel for more details, you can see each of the individual signatures. The first one here is the employee signing. The second one here is actually an invisible signature by us for the update that occurred before the third signature, which was the employer or the hiring manager. And you can see they're all valid and it's all supported by the PDF spec. And that is the glory of it. And that is that's the incremental signing example. Again, that's a pretty simple example, but it can support very complex things as well.